Newsweek reports massive layoffs are coming in 2024. Fierce Biotech Layoff Tracker 2024 shared AloeVir cuts 95% of team. Pfizer R&D site to lay off hundreds of staffers. BlackRock plans to lay off 600 employees worldwide. And CNBC shared how 2023 layoffs will continue to affect people in 2024. Expectations of decreased employee morale are on the horizon, according to economists. So, last year we saw Walmart, Chewy, and other large layoffs that took place in 2023, and we are kicking off 2024 with even more. The easy way to tell that bad news is coming is by the WARN notices, W-A-R-N, WARN notices that are being filed with different states. And WARN is just an acronym for the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act. And in states like California, the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act, that they have expanded on the requirements of the federal WARN Act, and it provides protection to employees, their families, and communities by requiring employers to give affected employees and other state and local representatives notice 60 days in advance of a plant closing or a mass layoff. But of course, as always, there are ways to work around these laws, and they can manipulate the data so that people don't get tipped off too early or too soon and quite possibly resort to quiet quitting or lowered productivity or even internal theft by employees that are negatively impacting the company in their fight against loss prevention. However, employers covered under CaliforniaWARN Act are those with 75 or more full-time or part-time employees, as under the federal WARN, employees must have been employed for at least 6 of the 12 months preceding the date of required notice to be counted. And a plant closing, layoff, or relocation of 50 or more employees within a 30-day period, regardless of percentage of workforce, requires notice. And relocation is defined as a move to a different location more than 100 miles away. Notice requirements in California: employers must comply with federal WARN Act notice requirements, and under the federal WARN Act, an employer must provide written notice 60 days prior to a plant closing or mass layoff to employees or their representative and the state dislocated worker unit. But like I said, there are ways around these laws and requirements that businesses are very, very keen on and aware of. So you may not, or you may actually be included in the next round of mass layoffs and a wave of unemployment hitting your doorstep, and more so your paycheck and your bank account. But unfortunately, you may not receive the notice in time and end up just getting called into the boss's office on a Friday at 3:30 p.m. where they will tell you today is your last day. We talked about that last night. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out after this one. And this is especially important, seeing as how just the other day, Barron's reported how unemployment could rise over coming weeks. Layoff data shows, and the author of this article, Connor Smith, said initial jobless claims may soon be set to rise, according to an analysis of Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act notices by Torsten Slock, the chief economist at Apollo Global Management. And Slock wrote, the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification WARN Act gives 60 to 90 days advance notice in case of plant closings and mass layoffs. And the latest data shows a significant move higher in WARN notices recently. So, in other words, the WARN data is telling us that more companies are giving advance warnings about plant closings and mass layoffs, is what the economist said. And Slock's analysis of the WARN notices implies initial jobless claims in mid Q3 of last year could rise to a level between 250,000 and 300,000 in the coming weeks, which we are in now. And now new claims for last week are expected to be around 211,000, according to FactSet. Spectrum One News in Texas reported how Austin sees increasing number of mass layoffs in 2023, and this was published on Friday, January 5th, 2024, where Catherine Finnerty published the following. According to a study by the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, Texas saw an increase in mass layoffs in 2023, and that could mean a rise in unemployment in the near future. Although jobless rates remain low, notices of pending workforce reductions filed with the state could signal a rise in unemployment and slowing employment growth in the coming months. The study used the Federal Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act, WARN, to calculate its data. WARN requires all employers, typically medium and large companies, to inform state officials when they plan to either close a facility or if they are planning to lay off many of their employees. And I quote, the notices can signal the shutdown of a job site of at least 50 workers, a layoff of a third of a location's workforce, including fewer than 500 workers, or outright dismissal of more than 500 employees, is what the study explained. While WARN notices only make up 2.2% of Texas's layoffs, they can still be a good predicator of economic or coming economic trends. Typically, WARN notifications occur within 60 days of an action, barring major events like a pandemic. On average, the time between the notice of a layoff and the actual layoff is 63 days. But during the pandemic, the average notice to the state was 8 days after layoffs. Also, during the pandemic, there was an abrupt rise in WARN notifications and notices, but these notices dropped back down to below average levels in 2021 and continue to fall even further in 2022. But WARN notices are back on the rise, with a 51.7% increase through the first 10 months of 2023, and the main industries that saw an increase in mass layoffs were what the study called white-collar jobs, like management, professional services, finance and insurance, and healthcare. White-collar workers are typically less exposed to the business cycle than blue-collar workers are, so it's unusual to see mass layoffs concentrated in these occupational classifications. Notably, however, mass layoffs in 2023 remained at very low levels, the study said. While Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston made up most of WARN notices and layoffs last year, Austin had a greater number of mass dismissals compared to previous years. Austin accounted for 20% of WARN layoffs in 2023, up from their average of 5.7% in pre-pandemic years. San Antonio also saw an increase from 5.5% all the way up to 13.9%. The study attributed the increase to high-tech downsizing after a period of aggressive pandemic-era hiring in the tech industry, and the study predicted that the unemployment rate in Texas will rise to around 4.2% and said that slowing is expected in 2024 and small increases in the state unemployment rate would be consistent with these factors. More reports from various sectors, including businesses, employers, and corporations, for instance, like in Charlotte, North Carolina, over 90 jobs will be cut at American Airlines clubs in the Charlotte airport. American Airlines is the dominant carrier out of Charlotte's airport, accounting for about 90% of all traffic. And in fact, this is in part why you may end up seeing so many companies creating smaller spin-off corporations and spin-off entities of less than 100 employees or whatever the threshold is, so that they can fly under the radar, no pun intended, in having to comply with federal WARN Act laws. Now, remember, they don't care about you at all. None of these companies or corporations, businesses, and employers care about the people that they hurt and harm by laying off and firing without warning, no notice, and withholding benefits, paid leave, PTO, or paid time off, and severance. Some even attempting to deny unemployment claims made by the state so that you don't get anything. And not too long ago, just after Thanksgiving, the Telegraph shared Illinois Department of Labor probes U.S. Steel over WARN Act compliance, which is a perfect example. So do me a favor, please. If you don't do anything else, just pay attention, folks, because these are the warning signs. And so basically, the United States Steel Corporation, U.S. Steel, at Granite City Works faces scrutiny for potential violations of the Illinois Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification WARN Act. This followed a WARN Act notice indicating layoffs of up to 1,000 workers, and Congresswoman Nikki Budzinski urged the Illinois Department of Labor, IDOL, to investigate. Consequently, IDOL issued a subpoena to U.S. Steel, and the Illinois WARN Act mandates a 60-day advance notice for plant closings of mass layoffs by employers with 75 or more full-time employees. IDOL learned about the impending layoffs at Granite City Works on November 28, 2023, and these layoffs are in addition to the 400 layoffs announced in September of 2023, which U.S. Steel initially described as temporary. I don't see anything extremely temporary about 400 layoffs, then followed by another round of layoffs the following month. However, Budzinski highlighted that despite positive market shifts and the resolution of the United Auto Workers Union strike, U.S. Steel proceeded with permanent layoffs, questioning the legality of their actions. Again, I told you guys, they know how to work around these things and dance around these things. And at the end of the day, even if they're in the wrong, odds are you're still going to be out of a job without the proper notice and warning that they should be providing to you by law. IDOL Director Jane Flanagan emphasized the significant impact of mass layoffs on communities and the department's commitment to ensuring compliance with the WARN Act. Employers failing to provide the required notice are liable for back pay, benefits for the violation period up to 60 days, and a civil penalty of up to $500 per day of violation. And this is only the beginning, folks. It's only going to get worse. But wait, there's more. Pizza Hut operators cutting all delivery jobs in 2024. But do you know why? Well, I'll tell you. It's because of new wage increases happening right now in California. And it begins with these just two Pizza Hut franchise operators who happen to have hundreds of stores between the two of them. And they are preparing to can. They're going to cut 1,200 workers just like that. And this is only the beginning. This is just how it gets started, folks. The great wealth transfer, the great reset. We've been talking about this. Get ready for it. And I knew it was coming. And all these big corporations, they have to make their money, okay? And they have to make lots of it. So a spike in minimum wage cutting into their profit legally only gives them a few immediate options to execute for a quick remedy and recourse. And that means laying people off who need jobs so very badly. And next, well, get ready for prices, which might have to go up. And that's it, folks. This is how the cycle continues. Now it's the time to put all of our preparation to the test, folks. This is it. And if you have any questions and you want to reach out, feel free. Thank you guys for watching. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, stay safe, stay smart. Thank you guys for watching. Keep your head on a swivel, stack up and stockpile your cash and your savings and emergency safety net for at least 3 to 6 months of expenses, and make sure your credit cards are not carrying balances, and preferably hold 100% availability of your credit just in case. But that's an extreme last worst case scenario. Stay frosty, friends. I'll see you guys in the next one.